Good morning and good morning. My name is Michelle and I'm with Olive and 2U Studios. We are here today for our 12 Days of Christmas from 2025, our unboxing day or unwrapping day for day two. But today also happens to be Boxing Day. So if you're a fan of the UK and all of that, then you know that today is Boxing Day. So that is very exciting. We have a lot to get to today, namely this little package for day two. And I'm really excited about this one for lots of reasons. Probably one of the main reasons is because I found some really neat information about today. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that and really encourage you to go over and check out those additional details. I hope you had a great Christmas. We gathered together yesterday, whether you were live with us or maybe you watched later. Yesterday was just a great day. It's always fun to be here on Christmas Day itself. That begins our 12 days of Christmas because the first day of Christmas is actually on Christmas Day. So let's go through really quick. Remember, you have your insert in your box, and that tells you a little bit about what's happening in the box. But remember, that QR code is where you'll want to scan and get additional information each day. And then, of course, you received your little ornament with the super cute little polar bear. And he says hot cocoa and book. So he looks like he's having a good time. And then, of course, the exclusive coaster. We love doing these little coasters. I think they're so much fun. And I know that a lot of our Yarn-A-Use actually collect them. One particular Yarn-A-You has a granddaughter who plays games with them. They live in her living room and they play games with them. Okay, so let's get started on day two, and then I can share a little bit about day two with you. Here we are. I start opening it. Definitely yarn because it feels squishy. Aha. This is Clara's Dream. Take the cuff off so you can see it. Look at those beautiful pinks and creams and silvers in Clara's Dream. How beautiful is that? And I love the tonality of all the colors, the pink and the silver, but especially that sort of silver gray. There's so many different shades of silver and gray in this. So Clara's Dream comes to us from the Nutcracker. It is a particular scene in the Nutcracker ballet. And if you've seen the Nutcracker, you might be like thinking about that scene. I'll be honest, I saw excerpts of the ballet multiple times over my school career. We would do field trips and that sort of thing and learn about the ballet in school. But um, but I never actually saw the full ballet until just a couple of years ago. We were gifted tickets and went to the Dr. Phillips Center there in Orlando and saw the full production. And I remember just being completely and utterly entranced. It was absolutely fascinating. And I thought it was so interesting. So if you have not yet seen a full production of the Nutcracker, I recommend that you do that. Okay, let's talk for just a couple of minutes about it because I learned some interesting things doing the research for this. And I meant to have my little trivia sheet here in front of me, and the time got away from me, and I don't have it in front of me. So maybe I'll go live later in the Yarn-A-Use and share more of it. But what I remember in broad general terms is that this scene was not originally called Clara's Dream. And also, Clara was not the original name for the character. Her original name in the production was Marie, and her doll's name was Clara. But later on, they reversed that. And so the little girl became Clara in the production. Tchaikovsky, who did the music for it, was not particularly loving doing the music for this, apparently. I don't recall all the details, but he was not really loving that. But now it is absolutely iconic music. I think we all recognize that during the holidays. And it's so interesting to hear about that. Also, it was not until long after the original storyline was written that this became the Nutcracker as we know it today. So it had one previous life in sort of a different itineration and then became the Nutcracker that we know and love today. So there's so many interesting things surrounding this particular ballet. And it's also interesting to learn a little bit about behind the scenes and actually producing it because it has the most amazing sets if you've been to a production or you know about it. Now, I'm sure along the way, as happens with productions of this sort, oftentimes you'll get like minimal interpretations all the way up to really grand interpretations. So the sets are, they kind of carry on a life of their own, right? It depends on who the set designer is and all of that. But really interesting things about the Nutcracker. So, there are some wonderful links for you today regarding the Nutcracker. You can scan your little insert card and go to it that way and see the links. One of them is, well, let me tell you about a few of them. First of all, there are any number of videos out there on YouTube where you can see this particular scene. And I dare say there's probably links where you can actually watch the full length ballet. So if you've not seen it in person, at the very least, you can watch it on YouTube. But this particular scene, Clara's Dream, is available via lots of different productions that have occurred in the past right there on YouTube. I have linked it to one particular production, but it was just one of many. The other item, well, there's a couple other items that I've linked to as well. One of them is this fantastic interactive little sort of walkthrough or game. I'm not sure I would characterize it as a game, but maybe it has some gamification to it. But it is this very lush, interactive walkthrough online that it's built for children, but I found it fascinating that you can do and kind of click through. The artwork is just amazing on it. So if you have children or grandchildren around and want to kind of introduce them to the Nutcracker, that is a great way to do it. Yes, it's on a screen, but it's a great way to do it. You can sit with them and engage in that together for a little holiday time, or you can do it as an adult. I went through a lot of it myself on my laptop, and it was a lot of fun to go through. The other item that I found that I thought was completely fascinating was a Ukrainian folk interpretation of Clara's Dream. And the link is on the page as well to that in sort of these traditional Ukrainian folk costumes and folk outfits. And I found that was fascinating. I think one of the neat things about all of this literature and stories and ballets and plays is that the interpretations of the artists who participate in those productions or books or whatever are just they're so fascinating. You can see multiple productions of the Nutcracker and everyone is going to have its own nuance and its own flavor. And this is a great sort of embodiment of that. The Nutcracker is iconic, and so you can see all these different permutations, much like some of the stories that we're focusing on, some of the literature is similar. Yeah, you've got Scrooge and the Christmas story there, and different people interpret that different ways. My husband's son Jamie happens to be a graphic designer illustrator, and he illustrates children's books, a lot of children's books. He also does um, art for Broadway plays and playbills and that sort of thing. But he does a lot of children's books. He's award winning. And it's so interesting to me how different his art is compared to how someone else may interpret it. So, lots to see and learn about today regarding Clara's Dream, which is just one tiny portion of the entire Nutcracker production or play. Kim says she loves all the information. I'm so glad that you enjoy that. I really have a good time doing it, doing the research, and I feel like it provides a richer experience and is a lot of fun. So that is day two, Clara's Dream. Beautiful. Sherry and Terry did a fantastic job of dyeing this up. Let's go ahead and recap with day one. I'm in easy days right now because there's only one day preceding. And this is, I love this colorway too, Prologue in Pine. This was regarding, this harkens back to Little House in the Big Woods, which is the first installment of the kind of Little House on the Prairie series. So I'm not sure that I would say those coordinate. You could certainly use them together. I When I was in high school, I probably mentioned this before, I was a big, big fan of Pink and Green together. So you might use those together or you might not, but they are both interpretations of the literature of the day. So that's day one and day two. Tomorrow is day three. That's kind of a no brainer, right? And I will be back here tomorrow to open up day three with you. I hope you're getting some stitching done and enjoying kind of still the holiday vibe out there. We did not get, we got a little bit of more snow last night, but mostly we had so much fun watching yesterday the snow falling out of the trees. There were these great gusts of wind, and these huge amounts of snow came barreling down from the trees. So now the trees are not leaning as much. The branches were bending from the weight of the snow, but now that isn't happening as much. I said that must be nature's way of making sure that for the most part, the trees don't break under the weight of the snow. So today I've got lots of work to do, and I think we're going to run out a little bit later and do a couple things around town as well. It's still cozy and holiday like here. We are drinking so much tea to stay warm. It dipped down into the negative temperatures last night, and this morning when we were drinking our first cup of tea, I think it was 8 degrees outside, maybe. So, a balmy 8 degrees. So Kim says when she was little, she would rather read than play in the snow. I was a big reader too, Kim. I didn't have snow to play in, but I was definitely a big reader. I would read anything and everything I could get my hands on, including the backs of cereal boxes and all those sorts of things. Are you trying anything new for the holidays now that you've got a little bit of time off in this kind of in between space? I know some of you are getting ready to cast on Knitmas with Nomadic Knits, Becky over at Nomadic Knits. That's exciting. Are you trying anything new and different? I tried something new and different yesterday that has nothing to do with yarn. We made a very simple meal here for Christmas. It was just Jim and myself. We did filet mignon steaks from a local farm that were fantastic. I did green beans and a really nice scallop potato, but I made creme brulee for the first time and got to use my torch and torch the top of the creme brulee. So it turned out really well. I learned one thing not to do with creme brulee. I think I whisked the custard a little too much and had a few air bubbles in it, but it didn't affect the end result. So now, of course, I have to make more creme brulee. Oh, pity me. I have to take one for the team and make more creme brulee so I can perfect my technique. And then this morning, we actually bruleed the top of our oatmeal. How's that for a little luxury? We don't do that every day for sure. So I'm curious what you did if you tried something new this holiday season, maybe a new craft or picked up a new sort of book or something new in the kitchen. I'd love to know down below in the comments. So let us know what you did new. And if you haven't yet, what you might do new. And then we talked a little bit yesterday about reflections on the past year and going forward, kind of what worked for you, what didn't, and what your intentions might be for the new year. I'd love to hear about some of that as well. All right, that is it for day two. I'll see you back here for day three. I'm going to get the show notes updated down below. There was a little glitchy before I went live, but they should be there shortly for you. And don't forget to head over to your landing page so you can get all that information. All right, thanks so much. Have a great day two of Christmas, and I'll see you back here for day three tomorrow. Take care. Happy Christmas.